You might look back at your early life and see the standard markers of a safe upbringing: a suburban house, food on the table, parents who were physically present. There is no single catastrophic memory to point to, yet you carry a heavy, formless sadness, a suffocating weight occupying the spaces where your childhood should have been. This gap between the pain you feel and the apparent lack of physical trauma creates a profound sense of self-doubt. You scan your memory for a reason to be this exhausted, and finding none, you assume the problem is simply you. You end up feeling like an imposter in your own grief. In clinical psychology, specifically a framework called AEDP, there is a concept known as mourning the self. It shifts the focus away from searching for a tragic event that happened to you. Instead, it asks you to grieve the version of yourself that never received the environment it needed to exist. This invisible grief is real. A psychological wound does not require a dramatic origin story to deserve the space to be felt, recognized, and processed. To understand why we get stuck in this unnameable pain, we have to look at the nature of the loss itself. Researcher Dr. Pauline Boss established a foundational concept for this specific trap: ambiguous loss. Ambiguous loss describes the paralyzing grief of mourning someone who is physically right in front of you, but psychologically or emotionally absent. It is an ongoing deprivation that offers no closure and no clear ending. This maps directly onto the experience of childhood emotional neglect. Your parent was technically in the room, they drove you to school and paid the bills, but they provided no emotional resonance or attunement, leaving a quiet accumulation of small daily absences. Grief traditionally follows the removal of something you once held. In this case, the sorrow stems from the absence of a resource you were never given. The second layer of this trap comes from the outside world. Dr. Kenneth Doka coined the term disenfranchised grief to describe what happens when a specific type of loss is completely invalidated by society. When a recognized loss occurs, culture provides a framework. There are rituals, community support, and dedicated time to mourn. The AIDS Memorial Quilt represents the impact of a culturally recognized ritual, a space where grief is named and witnessed by a community. Surviving emotional neglect, however, comes with zero social rituals. Instead, you encounter what therapists call empathic failure. Well-meaning friends or family members offer platitudes. They insist that parents do their best, or remind you that others had it much worse. When grief is denied social permission to exist, it does not heal. It simply hides. It goes underground, quietly shaping your nervous system from beneath the surface, often surfacing years later as chronic anxiety or complex PTSD. The final silencer lives entirely inside of you. To process sadness, a child requires an environment of fundamental safety and comfort. Children raised in emotional isolation do not have that luxury. To survive the chronic absence of warmth, a developing nervous system has to adapt. The child's mind is forced to biologically shut down, freeze, and numb out the distress of being alone. We learn to identify our internal world by watching a parent respond to our distress. If that signal is met with silence, the internal connection breaks. The child stops listening to their own body because there is no one on the outside to translate what those feelings mean. This creates a cyclical barrier to healing. The neglect creates a profound numbness, which then prevents you from accessing the very feelings you need to process in order to recover. Breaking this cycle requires moving from subjective guilt to objective reality. We can look at empirical data from the Harvard Human Flourishing program, which tracked how parental warmth statistically dictates adult outcomes decades later. The data reveals a stark contrast. Adults who experienced high parental warmth score significantly higher on measures of social acceptance and life satisfaction, while showing lower rates of depression and anxiety. Recognizing this data isn't an act of vindictive blame against your caregivers. It is simply the objective acknowledgement that you missed out on a measurable building block of human development. You have to accept this reality objectively, because society will never hold a funeral for this specific loss. You are the only one who can grant yourself the permission to mourn it. Healing this kind of invisible loss often requires a somatic psychological approach. The goal is not to somehow travel back and fix an unchangeable past. The goal is to stop the habit of avoiding the physical sensation of grief in your present body. It involves recruiting your capable adult self to hold a safe space for that compromised child within you. Instead of freezing, you allow the trapped physical emotion to rise, crest, and organically fall back down. Processing this nameless loss establishes a new baseline. It provides the clarity needed to begin the work of rebuilding a sense of self. So look back at the quiet rooms of your early life and ask yourself, what did the child you were lose that no one ever acknowledged?